It's something that I didn't expect, but it's something I'm just very grateful for, and I never forget them sort of moments. That's helped me like turn that pain to prosperity. So, and it was crazy. I went and done shoots with Bayo Akinfenwa, Glenn Murray, Steve Sidwell, and Wayne Bridge.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Total Sport, and today we are joined by a very, very special guest, our first professional footballer in a little while, but we are joined by a man who's been here, there and everywhere on TV as well in recent months. We have Mr. Melvin Minter, who's currently on loan at Darlington from Harrogate. How are you, mate? Are you good?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent. So as you can probably tell, Melvin's a little bit raspy. He had a game last night, so you know he'll obviously be shouting here, there, and everywhere, barking at his defenders. But they did get a win last night, so that's the main thing. It's worth it, isn't it? So we'll start off, mate. Firstly, we'll start in the present. So how have you been dealing with lockdown 2.0?
Lockdown 2.0 has brought another challenge like the first lockdown, and thankfully this time football isn't affected at the elite sport, and we're still getting on as normal. But it is like a bit frustrating that things haven't progressed as we would like to have, and we still got to be wary and just adapt to this different types of circumstances, really. So it's frustrating like everyone else, but at the same time we're grateful because we're still allowed to do what we love every single day under certain sort of constraints.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, well, you say like challenges and stuff that you are overcoming at the moment. Well, I think it's been a sort of a theme throughout your career. So we'll just start off at the start. So what got you into football? What started the love?
I'd say it started about 6 or 7 years of age when I was in year 3 in primary school, and my grandmother introduced it to me, and one day she just took me to an after-school football club, and she said to me that like you've been catching a lot of footballs at home, and she thought that it would be best for me to just release that energy in a sort of controlled environment. So went to my first football session, and from there just literally just took off from there.
Yeah, you said catching a lot of footballs at home, so not kicking them. So is it always bred into you, that goalkeeper mentality that you are?
Yeah, funnily enough, like growing up, I was playing like outfield in the school playground and stuff. And even when I got to year 8 in school, I played for the school team for that year up front. So like it was weird because like on Sunday I was playing for my Sunday league team, and I always knew I wanted to be a goalkeeper, but for some strange reason, I was just comfortable at like playing with the ball at my feet. And now, like in terms of the modern sort of society, in terms of like being a modern day goalkeeper, that's a requirement. So it's kind of like hand in hand in terms of my development from young, like it's how things are like in terms of like how the game is today. So it's a weird one, but yeah, it's just one that I just embraced.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, do you think that playing outfield and playing up front has maybe given you sort of ahead in the psyche of players who do play like that nowadays while you're in goal? Do you know like what they might be thinking and that sort of stuff?
You know, it is like as a goalkeeper, you're always having to anticipate because you never know what they can do. But just having that little previous experience of playing that position is giving me more of an understanding of different movements, different types of finishes, different sort of little intricate things that you can kind of anticipate, and it kind of helps you, gives you that extra percent. So to a certain degree, yeah, I kind of agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. So a trial at Oxford United, how did that come about? And obviously getting into their youth teams. How did you get that opportunity first off?
As I was in year 11 at school, just preparing for my GCSEs, doing like my mock exams, it was on that time, I think it was like November time before finishing school. I finished year 11 in 2011, but November 2010, roughly when I was in year 11, haven't done my mocks. I sat down with like a school counsellor, and they were saying to me, "What do you want to do?" And I said to them, "I want to be a footballer." And yeah, they were asking me that, are you at a professional football club? I wasn't at a professional football club, but long story short, just through an external link, I had I went through for a trial with a few others, and yeah, I was there for quite a long time. Took them quite a long time to make a decision, and yeah, thankfully, I signed there. So yeah.
Yeah, it must have been. Well, obviously, coming from, I think I read you were born in Tottenham. So it's a little way to Oxford. So how did you manage to cope with sort of the distance, especially as you say, as it has a lengthy amount of time in that respect?
Yeah. So like, obviously being on trial, I was like getting day release from school here and there, going for a trial or going after school for extra like trial games and stuff. So yeah, it was the first sort of time in my life where I've had to travel back and forth on my own or with a few friends at the time. And yeah, it just accelerated that maturity really. And then when I signed, I stayed in digs, so I lived up there for a season when I was there. But that sort of back and forth experience when I was like 15, 16, having to get on the train on my own because family had different sort of priorities where they couldn't take me. I had to really grow up and just take responsibility for my own self. Like if that's something I wanted to do, that's part of the sacrifice, really.
Yeah, I talk a lot about sort of sacrifice and stuff. So you went through Oxford, and so you went to Hayes and Yeading, and then Brentford, of course. We'll focus on that. So to go from to be released from Oxford to then go to non-league and then come back up to a club like Brentford. What was your psyche like at that time in terms of what was your thought of your future at that point?
It was an interesting one because like 17, 18, I was just determined of trying to get back into where I wanted to be. So at that time, I was still a bit more reliant on talent, working hard, but just more focused on trying to get back into that professional environment because I enjoyed training every single day and developing and working on my craft. And where Hayes and Yeading were part-time, I was still doing my extra stuff away from obviously training with the club and stuff. So yeah, I just saw it as an opportunity, and thankfully they gave me the platform, and I done well, and yeah, things took off from there.
Yeah, it's a really your career path is a really interesting one.
Interesting, yeah.
Something that it's gone up and down and up and down, and then it's on that upward curve once again. So we'll go through sort of what do you think was sort of the peak of your career so far? What's been your favourite moments in terms of rising through non-league?
Good question. I'll probably in terms of other than signing my first professional contract at Harrogate Town, I'll probably say my favourite moment was probably last season being on Soccer AM and then going to play a game for Kings Langley. Like that just showed that I can just adapt to any situation. I was on TV on Sky Sports at like 10 in the morning, and then it's back to reality playing for Kings Langley, trying to get a clean sheet and do my job for the team. Like it wasn't. Nothing really, I feel like nothing really phases me. So like it was a opportunity that I just embraced, and thankfully it worked out how I sort of like envisioned it.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. So it didn't phase you in terms of your character. How have you seen yourself develop over the last 8 or so years being in the world of football?
Like, obviously, it's been a crazy sort of upturn in terms of my mentality, my character, and I'll say the biggest moment for me was getting released at Brentford, and around 19, 20 years of age, that sort of gave me that sort of life wake-up call, and my closest friends and my closest family, like, they've seen the sort of trajectory like firsthand, but in terms of myself from a personal point of view, like that me getting released gave me a wake-up call, like talent's not enough, like you need to work harder than everyone. And also it made me think back to Oxford United, like, and Brentford. Like once I got to them professional football clubs, I stopped working harder to sustain that success. Like I think I'd always worked hard to get to a professional football club. And once I've got there, like Oxford United and Brentford, very content, very satisfied without doing extras. And that me getting released from Brentford and going into non-league, having that culture shock of what's required to get back up, that kind of opened up my eyes, and I think it's kind of put me on a path for life, not even just football, for life. So it's something that I didn't expect, but it's something I'm just very grateful for, and I never forget them sort of moments that's helped me like turn that pain to prosperity. So yeah, I think around 20 years of age was when I really, really started to change my mentality and invest in my mind and read a lot of psychology books and speak to psychologists. And still to this day, it's a daily practice. It's not just a one-off thing. Like, it's a daily practice that if I invest in my physique, then my physiology, then I need to invest in my mind. The same sort of parallel sort of thing. So yeah, like that's what it is.
Would you say that maybe players who get released from professional clubs should maybe invest in their mind as you have, and then see themselves maybe rise back up above like you have? Do you think that would be more well spent than certain other things?
Yeah, I think it's each to their own. Everyone's different, isn't it? For me, I feel like that was a missing element for me, but I didn't realize until I got into that non-league system around 20 years of age. So like everybody's got different types of ways of moving forward. For me, that was something that I needed to work on and invest in. And like when you get released from professional football clubs, no one's going to be there like the PFA or different sort of avenues to try and help you. Like, you have to take responsibility for yourself and recognize where you've gone wrong and then focus on that. So for other people, it might be them having to change their attitude. For another person, they might have to maybe invest in their craft more. Like for me, it was just my mentality had to change. Like otherwise, I would have been on that spiral sort of trajectory downwards. So yeah, that's what I recognized, and thankfully, like, it's something till today that it still carries on.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that you can really tell in your psyche, just speaking to you. So you mentioned earlier Soccer AM. How did that happen then? How did that come about? It's a very it's something that not many players have experienced, and you got on there. So what happened there?
So initially I was part of a social media company called Rising Ballers, and Rising Ballers in inverted commas for your audiences. It's a platform for young unsigned talent in London under the age of 23, getting them into professional football clubs by giving them exposure via social media and playing against professional football clubs. So in the last 2 years, we've had 9 boys, including myself, turn professional. And I was a part of the platform from 23 to 25. 23 was when I became a part of it, and they made me like captain of the platform because I was the oldest player. And done well for them, playing against different non-league setups, different professional football clubs, and doing a lot of branded commercial stuff with brands such as Nike, Adidas, Puma, etc. And just out of the blue, in 2019, I think it was like April, May, out of the blue, we had an in-house game against each other. We had, one of our boys was actually getting signed at Chelsea, Darius Johnson, but because Chelsea had the ban back then, they couldn't sign him, so he went and signed for a team in Holland called FC Volendam. So long story short, after he got signed, he had a viral clip. He had a 2-touch. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was a ball that come up in the air from like, I don't know how high, but it was crazy. I was playing in the game, and he's done a 2-touch up in the air and then gone past the defender, and that features on Soccer AM. And then a few days later, we had an in-house game with each other. Like, there was a lot of representatives like from like Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, all the top representatives in a country were there. I done well in the showcase game, and it was a game against each other in terms of Rising Ballers. And then I think literally the next day, I was told by an agent that was there. He's a good friend of mine that I played with before, a guy called Aaron Morgan. Shout out Aaron Morgan, because he's helped me on my journey. I played with him when I was at Hendon. But long story short, he said to me that he had a contact at Soccer AM, Sky Sports, and Lloyd Griffith. I don't know Lloyd Lloyd Griffith personally, but he was doing a goalkeeper and feature on the show, and he was leaving. So they needed a goalkeeper. Would I have been interested? And it's crazy because Aaron messaged me, and I think I still got this message to this day. Aaron messaged me at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I had missed the message. I had woken everything happens for a reason. I had woken up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and usually overnight, I never check my phone. And I woken up just to go to use the toilet, checked my phone for some strange reason, and I saw Aaron's message. And I was like, wow, like, I might have missed this opportunity. He's messaged me about 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sleeping. I haven't seen the message. So I replied back to him. I tried to call him as well. I replied back to him, tried to call him. No answer. He's probably sleeping. And then he's got back to me at like 8 o'clock in the morning saying to me, yeah, the opportunity is still there. He was going to ask someone else, but I got back to him. And he said to me, they would like me to go and do filming, pre-recorded content. And it was crazy. I went and done shoots with Bayo Akinfenwa, Glenn Murray, Steve Sidwell, and Wayne Bridge. But initially, it was first Steve Sidwell and Wayne Bridge. And when I got there, the standard was crazy. I thought to myself, these guys are they played at the highest level, and they played for their countries. Like, if this is the standard, and I'm playing in non-league, I'm gonna have to work extra hard to try and at least compete, because that was a real shock when I came up against them first. That was a real shock. So I done okay against them, and then the following week, thankfully, Tubes asked me to come back and do another shoot with Akinfenwa and Glenn Murray. But that week where I left and came back, that's when I thought to myself, I need to start training twice a day. I need to start training at 6 a.m. in the morning. And when I came back and featured against Akinfenwa and Glenn Murray, done very, very well. So when I done very, very well, the Sky team, like Tubes, Fenners, Bullard, turned around and said to me, do you want to do this full time? Because Lloyd was leaving and they needed a goalkeeper. And I said to them, I'm playing non-league. I'm still trying to achieve my aspirations and work my way back up. So if I was to do this, it wouldn't work for me. I wouldn't be able to sign professionally for a football club. So it was a sticky point where they said that they would have to look for another goalkeeper. So I recommended Sky a few goalkeepers that they could feature on the show. And thankfully we came to a compromise where I could have a home game for Kings Langley, because Kings Langley was based in Watford. So Sky was based in Brentford in West London. So like when I was available and we had a home game, I would do that in the morning and then go into my game for Kings Langley. Because if I'm playing in a non-league system, it allows professional football clubs to still look at me and give me that opportunity to work my way back up. If I was just doing soccer AM, it wouldn't be possible. I needed to be in a competitive environment. So that's the sacrifice I made. If I was really about chasing clout or doing things for the fame, I would have turned around and walked away from non-league there and then. But for me, like, I just thought that this is an opportunity, and I need to try and pull it into what I'm already doing to try and give me that sort of exposure to work my way up. Like, and yeah, it was crazy. Like, I think I missed the show for like the first 2 months because at Kings Langley, our first 5 or 6 games were away from home. So we didn't have a home game until like October. And then it came to October, and then Tube said to me, we've got, I think we had Berbatov on the show. Can you do it? And I had a home game, funnily enough. And from there, things just blew up on another scale. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really cool story, especially waking up at 5 a.m. and checking your phone randomly. It is kind of weird, you know, that these things happen, and just coincident, like, it's so coincidental. But then obviously playing and facing these players, it is just a game, you know, on Soccer AM. But did it give you sort of that wake up, as you said, it gave you that sort of wake up call that you needed to really push on even further?
Yeah. I thought to myself, like, wow, like, this is amazing. Like, I feel like I belong here and I've earned the right to be here. And it's now down to me to take that opportunity. I wasn't overruled by it. Like, I respected the fact that I was coming up against these big household names, and I was really determined to do my thing and showcase myself and see where it took me. So for me, like, that was the start of me training at 6 a.m. in the morning, like, I say 4 or 5 times a week, and then doing another session in the afternoon or in the evening, and just really, really giving it my all and just seeing where it took me. And then, yeah, like, thankfully it worked out how I envisioned it.
Yeah, so Harrogate Town. Obviously, you said you were playing for Kings Langley based in non-league. So talk to me about how Harrogate got in contact with you and you signed the contract with them.
So it's crazy because before that, I done well for Kings Langley, and in just before lockdown in March, we played against Stevenage, and they had like 4 or 5 first team players playing, and done very well. We played them in a senior cup game, and kept a clean sheet, and we went into penalties. I saved the penalty and we won the game. And at that time for Kings Landing, we was unbeaten in 2020. So I think we was like 13 games unbeaten in 2020, and Stevenage offered me a trial. So I was there for 2 weeks doing well alongside Soccer AM, alongside Kings Langley commitments and Rising Ballers on trial at Stevenage, training with them every single day. And lockdown came in, and they said to me they were going to sign me. So I was throughout lockdown and throughout the whole summer, I was preparing to potentially sign them. And the club didn't know whether they were going to get relegated from the League Two because of that situation with the National League. So once that was confirmed, for some strange reason, they went for other options. And that really disheartened me. I'll be honest, like I was expecting to sign there and it didn't work out. And then no opportunities came up throughout the whole summer. And it came to about, I say, 2 weeks before the start of the season, out of the blue. I had a lot of non-league options in terms of the National South, and in terms of clubs wanting to sign me. I'll be honest, I turned them down. There was about 3 or 4 concrete options there, and I turned it down. And I was kind of holding out for a football league club. And Harrogate Town came up for a trial along with 2 National League Prem full-time clubs that I can't name, but those 3 options came up. Harrogate Town were like the highest and the best option, and they needed a goalkeeper. And it was crazy because because of all the COVID stuff, they invited me for a trial, but I had to do a COVID test before I trialed. So I went up there and I was waiting for my COVID test to come back. My COVID test, for some strange reason, took more than 3 days to come back. It usually takes a day. So I stayed up there for about 3 days, and I had to come back to London. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't understand this. I don't understand why my COVID test is taking so long to come back. So it came back, and then it came back negative, thankfully, went and trained. And this was literally 3 days before the start of League Two in September. And there was no more pre-season games for the manager to see me. And he was just judging me based on videos and stuff that he'd seen. And for Kings Landing, I was on trial there with 2 other goalkeepers, and thankfully the club picked me to sign there. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey so far. And I was on the bench for like the first 5 games, and haven't earned an opportunity there as of yet, which is hence why I'm on loan and trying to just do my thing. But that's pretty much how it came about. Like, I'm just grateful, and everything happens for a reason, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to finish off, for obviously you've been through so much in your very, very still at the start of your footballing career. So what advice would you give to any young aspirational footballers in your position 6 or 7 years ago?
3 pieces of advice I always say is always believe in yourself no matter what. Football is a game of opinions. Like, you go to one club and you might not be playing, and then you might go to a higher club and get opportunity. So football's a game of opinions. Them 10 no's can really break you, but once you get that yes on the 11th sort of time, that can change everything. And so, like, always believe in yourself. Second piece of advice is have a work ethic of just working harder than everyone around you. I feel like doing enough is not enough anymore. Like, you have to do extras. So if that's doing extra stuff in the gym, extra stretching, extra training, like, try and figure out where your weaknesses are and try and turn them into strengths and try and overcompensate for that. And then the final piece of advice is you need results. Like, football is become a stats-based business. Like, you need results. Like, if you're a goalkeeper, you need to have clean sheets behind you, a good set of clean sheets behind you. For example, you play 10 games, try and aim for 4 or 5 clean sheets. So that's 1 in every 2 games. Like if you're a striker, try and aim to get goals. If you're a midfielder, assists. If you're a forward, assists. Like try and contribute to the team winning. Like results is really, really important in terms of executing on what you need to do in terms of your job in the team, and then that will help you moving forward. So that's the same advice that I follow myself, and that's what I'll give to others if you're down to follow that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure listening to you, Melvin, and chatting to you. It's really, really inspirational for young footballers out there as well. So where can people find you on social medias, mate?
So yeah, social media. My Instagram is melvin.minter, and my Twitter is melvin__minter as well. So yeah, if you, that's my social media accounts.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, thank you. And once again, thank you very, very much for joining us, mate. Yeah, and make sure to subscribe to Total Sport, all of you that are watching. We are getting very, very close to 1.1k, so that is would be brilliant. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.